tayo. Okay, so let's try answering some problems. Again, tatlo lang sasagutan ko, kayo na bahala sa matitira. I will upload the answers by the weekend. Okay, so let's start. Number 1. Calcium in a 200 ml sample of a natural water was determined by precipitating the cation as calcium oxalate. The precipitate was filtered, washed, and ignited in a crucible with an empty mass of 26.6002 grams. The mass of the crucible plus calcium oxide, yung molar mass is 56.007 grams per mole, was 26.7134. Calculate the concentration of calcium. Yung molar mass ng calcium ay 40.078 grams per mole. Pasensya na, nanganak yung pusa ko dito, sila sa kwarto nagtambay. Kaya maingay. Okay. Anyway, so calculate the concentration of calcium in water in units of grams per 100 ml of the water. Okay. So, asan dito yung gravimetry? Nasa first three sentences. No? So, ano yung kwento doon? So, sabi niya, meron daw calcium sa natural water sample. Ang ginawa doon, yung analyst, precipitate niya yung calcium in the form of calcium oxalate. Okay? And then yung calcium oxalate precipitate na yon, we finilter, winash para clean siya. And then that was ignited in a crucible. No? Ano yung tsura ng crucible? Pakita ko sa inyo. Google natin. Para may idea kayo. Crucible. Okay. So, ganito po yung itsura ng crucible. Minimize natin to. Ayan, kita nyo na ba? Ayan yung itsura ng crucible. Crucible is used to ignite your samples, no? Especially when doing gravimetric analysis. No? Ang ginagawa namin dyan is, di ba, after namin i-filter yung precipitates, nilalagay namin yan sa loob nito. So, pagkalagay niyan sa loob niyan, susunugin namin yan. Okay? So, ceramic to. So, hindi masisira yung crucible. Yung masusunog lang is yung precipitate na nilagay mo sa loob na. So, aapuyan mo yung loob na yan until yung precipitate mo is super dry, no? Okay? So, after nun, titimbangin namin yan lahat. Okay? So, bale, ito yung itsura ng crucible again. So, this is the crucible. What we do here is that we place our precipitates here, then we ignite it, no? Inaapoyan namin yan. Okay. So, susunugin namin yung buong setup na yan until yung precipitate, yun na lang yung matera. Okay? So, yan. Ganyan yung itsura ng crucible natin. Okay? Balik tayo dito. So, yan. So, sabi dyan sa problem, precipitate yung calcium as calcium oxalate, finilter, tapos yung buong filter paper nilagay sa crucible. Tapos sinunog yun so that mawawala na yung filter paper and madadry yung ating sample. Okay. As we combust or as we ignite the calcium oxalate, it turns into calcium oxide na. So, bali yung final form ng ating precipitate will be calcium oxide na. Okay. So, yan. So, paano natin sasagutan ng problem na to? Ganito lang. Lista muna natin kung ano yung mga given. Okay. So, the first given is the mass of the crucible with an empty mass na of 26.6002. Kasi siyempre, titimbangin mo yung crucible, di ba? Okay. So, kailangan alam mo muna yung empty weight niya. Ibig sabihin yung crucible lang, walang lamang precipitate na. So, ang mass ng empty crucible, that is equal daw to 26.6002 grams. Okay? So, yan daw yung timbang ng empty crucible. Okay? Tapos, nung tapos na yung ignition ng ating precipitate, ang mass daw ng crucible plus calcium oxide, yung form ng precipitate natin, is ito daw, 267134. Okay. Mass crucible plus calcium oxide precipitate, that is now equal to 26.7134 grams. Take note that dapat tumaas yung mass ng crucible and the precipitate na. Hindi pwedeng lower than the empty mass yan. Kasi kapag lower than the empty mass, ibig sabihin yan, basag yung inyong crucible. Okay? So, yan. So, yan. So, may onting change sa mass. Okay? So, if you want to get the mass of your precipitate, madali lang yun. Paano? I-subtract mo lang yung mass ng crucible with the precipitate and the mass of the empty crucible na. So basically, pag-subtract din natin tong dalawa to get the mass of the calcium oxide precipitate. So that will be So that will be 267134 grams minus 266002 grams. Okay? So pag subtract na natin sila, sabay kayo sa pag-calculate ha. 7134 minus 266002. Okay. Okay, so the mass of the calcium oxide is 0.1132 grams. Okay? So, yan ay mass ng calcium oxide natin. Yan ay mass ng precipitate. So, yan. Nakuha na natin yung mass ng precipitate natin. So, we can now solve the question. Ano yung sabi? Calculate the concentration of calcium in water units of grams per 100 ml water. Ibig sabihin lang nun, 'di ba alam natin yung mass ng calcium oxide, no? That's 0.1132 grams. We will convert that to mass of calcium. Calcium only. Kasi yung calcium na yon, yun yung nasa sample natin eh. Precipitate lang natin. So what we're going to do is to convert calcium oxide to calcium. Okay? So ganun gagawin natin. Calcium oxide to calcium. So paano yon? So mass calcium equals, ko-convert natin yung calcium oxide to calcium. Paano yon? So you have your mass of calcium oxide. You divide it by the molar mass, okay, of the calcium oxide. Okay, so what's the purpose? The purpose is to get the moles of the calcium oxide. Once you have the moles of your calcium oxide, you can now convert it into moles of calcium. Diba? Typical stoichiometry to. So, dapat familiar na tayo dito. So again, yung mass ng calcium oxide, we are going to convert that into mass of calcium. How? You divide the mass of calcium oxide by its molar mass. Then, you multiply it by their stoichiometric factor. So, ano yung stoichiometric factor? Yun yung ratio ng calcium oxide and calcium. No? So, nasa baba si calcium oxide. Okay? Mole of calcium oxide. Nasa taas yung mole ng calcium. Why? Kasi gusto natin yung calcium makuha natin. So that's why nasa numerator siya. And yung calcium oxide gusto natin ma-cancel out siya. Okay, kaya siya nasa denominator. So for every mole of calcium oxide, for 1 mole of calcium oxide, how many moles of calcium do we have? So madali lang malalaman yan. Tignan mo lang yung molecular formula. So, calcium oxide, isang calcium. That means, for every mole of calcium oxide, you have 1 mole of calcium. Okay? So, yan. So, at this point sa equation na to, since nandito na tayo, dito, kinonvert natin yung mass to mole of calcium oxide. Dito, kinonvert natin yung mole ng calcium oxide to mole of calcium. Okay? So, andito na tayo sa step na to. Mole of calcium na yung meron tayo dito. So, if you want to convert the mole of the calcium to the mass of the calcium, you just have to multiply it by its smaller mass, no? So, smaller mass ng calcium. Okay? So, na-set up na natin yung equation natin. What's left is for us to plug in all the numbers. Okay? So, mass of calcium oxide, 0.1132 grams divided by molar mass of calcium oxide that was given, 56,077 G mol. Okay? Times the stoichiometric factor, 1 over 1. Times the molar mass of calcium, which is, asan na yun? Ayan. 40,078 G mol. Okay? So, the mass of calcium will be, solve natin ha. Okay. So, its mass will be 0.0809. No? 4 decimal places na gamitin natin dito. Kasi lahat ng values naka 4 decimal places. So that will be 0.0809. Ito na yung mass ng calcium, di ba? So okay na sana yan kung mass of calcium lang hinahanap, no? However, the problem requires us to get the concentration of calcium per gram in units of gram per 100 ml of the water. Okay? So alamin daw muna natin yung grams of calcium per 100 ml water. How are we going to do that, no? So to solve for that, alamin mo muna yung grams calcium per ml, okay? So yan. So hanapin natin, find the grams calcium per ml H2O. So paano 'yon? Okay. So you divide the mass of your calcium ito, yung 0.0809 grams. I-divide natin yan sa ml ng sample natin. So usually at the end of the gravimetric problems, you divide your mass by the sample mass. Okay. So ganun yung usual na ginagawa namin dito. Okay. So you divide the mass of your calcium by the, in this case, sample volume. No? So you have 200 ml volume of your liquid. No? Okay. So pag dinivide mo yan, naantok pa yung kamay ko eh. Yan. So pag dinivide mo yan, you will get grams calcium per ml. No? However, sabi sa problem, gusto niya grams calcium per 100 ml. So, bali ganito lang gagawin mo. After mo i-divide to, you multiply it by 100 ml. No? So, sabay na natin dito. Okay. So, basically, sige nang calculate na natin. Ayoko i-mental. 0.809 divided by 2. That will be 0.04045 grams calcium per 100 ml water. Okay. So this will be our final answer. Okay. So basically, ganito yung itsura ng gravimetric problems, no? So stoic lang siya. Stoic lang talaga siya. Yung gravimetry dito lang siya papasok sa una. Okay. So alamin mo lang ano yung nangyari, saan nanggaling yung mga precipitates, no? At ano yung final form ng precipitate, no? Then after nun, pag alam nyo na yung final form ng precipitate, you can convert it back to the original form, no? In our case, calcium, no? So yung calcium oxide, convert natin to calcium. And then sabi sa problem, concentration hinahanap. So we divided the mass of calcium by the volume of the solution to get the grams per ml. Then since ang question gusto niya 100 ml, so minultiply na lang natin sa 100, no? So the final answer will be 0.4045 grams of calcium per 100 ml, no? So kung gusto natin 4 decimal places, that will be rounded off to 0.405, no? Pero for our case, ganyan na lang muna. Okay. Pagdating naman sa Canvas questions, naka-round off naman yung choices dun. Piliin nyo na lang yung closest. Okay. So, ganyan lang. Basic stoic lang siya. If you have questions, you can raise na para masagutan natin.
Sir?
Yes po.
Sir, question lang po. Sir, saan po galing yung 200 ml?
Ay, 200 ml, that is the mass of your sample. Ay, volume of your sample. Ito.
Okay po. Thank you
Kasi
po.
sabi sa problem, ang gusto ng problem is para malaman daw natin yung grams per 100 ml of the water. So, bago mo makuha yung grams per 100 ml of water, kailangan alam mo muna yung grams per ml of water, no? So, basically, you divide your mass of the calcium by its volume ng solution para makuha mo yung grams calcium per ml. Then, once na makuha mo na yung grams calcium per ml, i-multiply mo yun sa 100 so that you will get the grams calcium per 100 ml. Okay. So, yan. Any questions? So, it seems wala na, no? Hopefully, clear tayo. Okay. Yung mahirap na problem, idudulo ko na lang siya. Yes, Vince.
Sir, yung yung 100 ml, isasama pa ba siya sa pag-multiply ng 80 ng 0.0809 tsaka 200 or iwalay po siya?
Kasama siya. Pag dinipe nyo to sa calcu, pagsamahin nyo na 0.0809 times 100 divided by 200. Okay.
Test times 100 po.
And ito na, diba this times this divided by that. Okay,
So hindi po kasama yung times 100 ml?
kasama siya. Balik, ganito muna gagawin mo. So,
Okay
divide mo ito by this one.
Okay po.
So, pagka-divide mo yon, i-multiply mo yun sa 100.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Or yung shortcut dito, 100 divided by 200 is 1/2, diba? So, this times 1/2 na lang. Or this divided by 2. Okay. So, ganun. Or basically, kung ano na lang, kung ano na lang nakasulat dito, yun na lang ipa-plug in nyo sa calculator. Especially if yung calculator nyo ay natural VPAM, no? Natural display, no? So, kung ano yung nakasulat sa ating notes, yun na lang ito-type natin sa calcu, no? Para we end up with the same answers. Okay? So, yan. So, yan yung isang type ng problem sa gravimetry. Disclaimer lang, hindi lahat ng problem ganito yung itsura sa gravimetry. So, pwedeng hinahanap percent mass, pwedeng hinahanap mass per volume, pwedeng ang hinahanap is yung mass lang, no? So, iba-iba yung style, no? Pero yung concept ng solving ng mass ng analyte mo is the same. Stoic lang yan. So, magkakaiba lang sa dulo, sa final answer. Kasi kunwari sa problem na to, hanap sa atin is grams per 100 ml. Yung ibang problem, hahanapin percent mass, no? Ganun. So, iba, yun lang, doon lang sa dulo nagkakatalo. So, depende sa pangangailangan ng problem, yung approach natin. Okay? So, yan. So, yan, we're done with item 1. So, since tapos tayo sa item 1, ang related question din ay item 3. So, kayo na yung sasagot niyan, ha? So, again, yung question 1, that is similar with question 3. Okay? Para makapag-start kayo na maigi mamaya, no? Kasi maaga naman tayo matatapos. So, basahin natin tong question 3. Blah, blah, blah. In one experiment, 0.3126 gram of sample was dissolved in 25 ml acetone and 1 ml acetic acid was added. No? So, ano yung kwento nito? Baka isipin nyo, ala sir, kasama ba to sa calculation? No? So, ang sagot doon, hindi. No? Kasi ano yung sabi ko sa inyo? Usually, the first sentence will tell you the process. No? So, magsasabi yan ng sandamukal na sandamukal na info. Nilublob siya sa ganito, nireact siya with this and that, no? Pero yung numbers na yon hindi sila kasama usually. Okay? Ang kailangan mo lang is yung mass ng sample mo as always. Yun yung kailangan mo parati sa first sentence. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yung 25 ml acetone, 1 ml acetic acid, hindi sila kasama, no? So, sila ay nasa procedure, no? Kasi ang kailangan mo load dito is yung piperazine. Ilublob mo sa acetone and acetic acid para ma-carry out yung reaction na to. Okay? So, ganun lang. Ayan na, wag nyo isasama to sa problem. So, ganun din yung mangyayari sa mga quiz nyo, no? And next week, no? So, yan. By the way, since gravimetry to, medyo tatagalan ko yung, pag-answer ng quiz nyo. Tatagalan ko siya. Siguro mga, let's say, 1.5 hour ulit, no? Kasi, ang daming sinusolve dito. 10 items lang. I mean, 10 question, no? Okay? So, yan. Tapos yan, sabi sa second sentence, ang sabi dyan is, after 5 minutes, filter, blah, 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 and then yung final precipitate ay 7121 na. Okay. So, yan. Yun na yung, after precipitation reaction, di ba, if you filter, ida-dry, if you filter, iwawash, ida-dry, and then titimbangin finally. Okay. So, siguro ito question sa inyo, no? Ano to? Itong 7121. Yan yung mass ng precipitate, no? Ano kaya identity ng precipitate, no? Binigay na yun sa equation sa taas. Okay? So, magbibigay talaga ng equation yan, ha? So, this equation at the top will tell you na ito yung iyong reactant, ito yung precipitating agent, okay? And ito yung precipitate mo. Okay. So, itong 7121 grams, ito na yon. So, if you want to determine the weight of piperazine, if you want to determine this, you have to convert the mass of this one into mass of that one. And that can be done using stoichiometry. Okay. So, stoich lang. Mass of the precipitate divided by the molar mass of the precipitate. Given na yon. Ayan o, formal mass. Yung FM, yan yung mga formal mass or molar mass. Okay. So, the mass of the precipitate divided by the molar mass of the precipitate, then convert mo sila stoichiometrically. May coefficients na nakalagay dito. For example, ito ay 1, ito ay 2, ito ay 1. So, 1:1 yung ratio ng ito, pati ng original substance mo. Okay. So, 1:1 yan. Then, pag na-convert mo yan into this, multiply mo na lang yan sa mass ng molar mass ng piperazine. So, you have the mass of the piperazine. Pero ang gusto sa problem ay percent weight in the sample. So, kapag hinahanap percent weight, i-divide mo yung mass nito by the sample weight which was given earlier. So, ito yung mass ng sample. So, you divide the mass of piperazine by this one times 100 para maging percent na. So, I will leave that for you na lang to practice na. So again, yung question 1 natin, ang similar sa kanya ay question 3 na. So yung item 2, skip ko yan kasi ito yung mahirap eh. Item 2 and item 4, yan yung mahirap. Mag-algebra tayo dyan. Skip ko na lang yan muna. Sa dulo ko sasagutan yung item 2. Punta tayo sa second type ng problem. So this one is volatilization. Okay. So volatilization to. Bakit? Kasi you have your sample and that is combusted to produce carbon dioxide and water. So ganun yung usual process kapag volatilization method of gravimetry. So you have your sample, you have your compound, and that will be combusted to carbon dioxide and water. Okay. Ayan. By the way, no, pag in-upload ko yung worksheet, magkakaroon doon ng additional question, no? Kasi may gusto lang ako idagdag na item doon. Yun yung determination ng empirical formula. Okay. Kaso hindi ko siya naisama dito. Okay. So, kuha tayo mamaya ng isang question na ganun. Okay, so anyway, so ito yung volatilization method sa gravimetry. So ano yung format ng problem? You have your compound that is reacted to produce carbon dioxide and water. So kapag nakita nyo CO2, H2O yung product, volatilization yan. Okay? So yan. So ang question sa atin is ito. A compound was weighing 5.714 milligrams produce 14.414 milligrams of carbon dioxide and 2.529 milligrams of water upon combustion. Find the percent weight of carbon and hydrogen in the sample. Okay. So, ayan. So, ano meron dito? Yung sample mo, yung sample that is combusted with oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and water. So, basically, combustion reaction to. Okay. So, ang hinahanap sa problem sa atin is yung percent weight of carbon and percent weight of hydrogen. So, how are we going to do that? Okay. Question, saan nyo makikita yung carbon? Paano nyo ma-determine yung mass ng carbon from your sample out of all the given items here sa question? Any idea? Paano nyo malalaman yung percent carbon from all this info na sinabi sa first sentence? Sa kaya siya pwede makuha? Siret na. Okay, so nasa PowerPoint yun last time. No? So, yung carbon dioxide, that will tell you the mass of carbon. Okay, kasi carbon dioxide. Ang mangyayari kasi is that kapag kinumbas mo yung matter mo, di ba, yung carbon will convert into carbon dioxide. Okay, so yun, pakinote na lang. CO2 will give you an idea. Hindi ko na nasusulat yung buong sentence. Yung mass ng CO2, that will give you an idea about the mass of carbon. And yung mass ng carbon, pwede mo yan i-convert into percent carbon. Percent weight ng carbon. Okay. So, ganito yung typical step dito. And ito, paulit-ulit lang to. Okay. So, again, para malaman mo yung carbon, that is just mass of carbon dioxide, i-convert mo to mass of carbon. Then, once you get your mass of carbon, kunin mo na yung percent weight per carbon. Okay? So, paano yun? Okay. So, madali lang. Stoic lang. So, if you want to determine the mass of carbon from carbon dioxide, let's set up an equation. So, you start with mass of carbon dioxide. Paano mo i-convert yan to mass of carbon? Stoichiometry. Okay, stoic lang yan. So, you have your mass of carbon dioxide. Para ma-convert mo yun to mass of carbon, stoic. So, it means i-convert mo siya sa moles. Okay? Basta sinabi kong stoic, may i-convert to moles. Okay? Matic dapat yon. So, you have your mass of CO2. Ulit-ulit na ako. I-divide mo yun sa molar mass ng CO2 so that you will get the moles of CO2. And once you have the mole of the CO2, i-convert mo yung CO2 to moles. How? Using their stoichiometric factor. Okay? So, nasa baba yung CO2, nasa taas yung carbon kasi yun yung gusto mo, yun nasa taas. Okay. So, let's look at the formula no, so we can identify their stoichiometric factor. For every mole of CO2, how many moles of carbon will we get? No? So, tig-isa lang yan. Kasi isa lang yung carbon sa CO2. That means for one mole of CO2, you have 1 mole of carbon. Okay, so 1 yung coefficients nila. At this point sa equation na to, you have the moles of carbon. Since gusto natin ay mass ng carbon, you multiply it by its molar mass. Okay? So with our equation set up, no? Plug in na natin yung given. By the way, be careful, naka-milligram yan. So what is milligram? That is 1/1000th of a gram, no? So ginagawa ko ditong shortcut to convert milligram to gram is, ang ginagawa ko na lang ay ganito. Kokopyahin ko yung number. Tapos nilalagyan ko ng times 10 raised to negative 3 grams na yan. Okay. Kasi basically, divide mo lang yan by 1,000 eh. So instead na magkaroon ka pa ng decimal, ginagawa ko, ganyan na lang. Dinudugtong ko na lang yung times 10 raised to negative 3 para mabilis. Okay? Wait lang. Aagawin na naman yung anak. Ang hirap maging nurse ng pusa. Nag-aagawan sila ng anak. Anyway, so balik na tayo. Mass ng CO2. So again, naka-milligram yan, gagawin natin gram. So to do that conveniently, you just add times 10 raised to negative 3 sa number. Okay, para mabilis na. Para wala nang kung ano-anong steps. No? So 14,414 times 10 raised to negative 3 grams. Ayan na yung mass ng carbon dioxide mo in grams. Okay, divided by molar mass. Bakit nga pala kailangan i-convert yung milligrams to grams? Bakit? Kasi ang unit ng molar mass ay grams per mole. Hindi magka-cancel yung milligram pati grams eh. So you have to convert milligrams to grams talaga by adding times 10 raised to negative 3. Okay, so anyway, molar mass ng carbon dioxide, no? That will be 44009. Okay. So nilista ko na yung mga molar mass kasi dito. Okay. So 12.011 for carbon, 15.999 for oxygen times 2. And that will give you 44.009 Gmol. No. Okay, so ito na yung first fraction dito. Okay. Next one yung stoichiometric factor. So 1:1 lang yan. Okay, times the molar mass of carbon, which is 12.011 Gmol. Pakipindot na lang sa calcu. Wait lang nga. Ang kukulit ng mga mingming. Wait lang. 14,414, 44,009, 12,011. Nakakalimutan ko yung times 10 raised to negative 3. So, this will be the mass of our carbon. 4 decimal places na natin. Kasi common yung 4 decimal places sa yung gravimetry. So that will be 3.9339 times 10 raised to negative 3 grams carbon. So yan. So we have the grams of carbon already. Okay. So once you have your grams of carbon, kunin mo na yung percent carbon mo. So paano yon? That is just the mass of your carbon divided by the sample. Okay. So again, kapag hinahanap yung percent mass ng something, that is just the mass divided by the sample mass. Okay. Ganun yung typical na ginagawa sa sa gravimetry. Again, pag hinahanap percent weight, yun yung mass ng element mo divided by, or mass ng analyte mo divided by the sample mass. Okay. Ganun lang gagawin nyo parate. pag hinahanap percent weight. Okay, so let's solve for that. Percent carbon, that will be the mass of carbon divided by the mass of your sample times 100%. So mass ng carbon mo is 3.99, ay hindi, 93 pala. 9339 times 10 raised to negative 3 grams. Yung mass ng sample mo ay naka-milligram, so convert mo yun to grams. 5.714 times 10 raised to negative 3 grams. Ganun lang yung shortcut pag nagko-convert. From milligram to gram, maglagay ka lang ng times 10 raised to negative 3 times 100%. Okay? Let me solve that. 39339. Okay. So express our answer in 2 decimal places na lang. Kasi percent na to eh. So, okay, ang sagot will be 68.85% carbon. Okay? So that's how we solve for the percent carbon when doing volatilization method. No? So again, paano mo malalaman yung percent carbon? Makukuha mo yon from CO2. Okay? So yun, so you convert CO2 into mole CO2, then convert mo yung mole CO2 to mole carbon, nandito na tayo nun. Yung mole carbon, i-convert mo to mass ng carbon by multiplying it by its smaller mass. So once you have your mass ng carbon, i-divide mo yun sa sample mass para makuha mo yung percent carbon sa iyong sample. Okay? So yan lang. Don't worry, ulit-ulit lang to pag volatilization. Okay. So, ayan. So, tapos na tayo kay carbon. Ngayon, hanapin natin yung hydrogen. Okay. So, from our given here, saan kaya tayo makakuha ng info about hydrogen? Sige, tingin kayo dyan. Yes, Joanna.
Sa H2O po.
Okay, so sa water, kasi, ayan, so thank you. So, pag nag-combust kasi yung ating organic matter, yung carbon, nagiging carbon dioxide, yung hydrogen, nagiging water molecules, di ba? Pag nagbabalance tayo ng combustion equation, di ba, ganun. So, ganun din dito. So, yan. So, for us to determine the percent hydrogen in our sample, we first have to convert water into hydrogen, no? Yung mass ng water into mass of hydrogen. So, yung formula, ganito pa rin yung itsura. Okay, so ganito pa rin yung itsura. Actually, itong formula na to, ginamit din natin yung kanina yan. Tignan nyo. O, diba? Ulit-ulit lang yung format dito. Kaya pag nasanay na kayo sa stoic, no? Ayan na yun. Diba, usually 3 steps yun. Ayan, isang form ng equation na lang siya dito. So, you have your given, molar mass ng given, conversion, molar mass ng desired, no? So, ganun. So, tignan nyo, ito yung formula dyan. Dito, ganun din yung formula, no? So, ulit-ulit lang yung stoic, no? So, pag master nyo na yung stoic, mauumay na lang kayo sa ganitong problem. Okay? So, ayan. What's next? Ayun, dami kong sinabi. Hydrogen hinahanap natin. So, i-set up na lang natin tong equation for the hydrogen. Ano kaya yung outlook? Check ko lang. Okay. So, yan. Set up na natin yung equation. That will be the mass of water divided by the molar mass of water. Okay? So, yan. So, you convert the mass of water into moles of water using this equation. Once you have the moles of water, i-convert mo yon to moles of hydrogen. Okay? So, on the second part of our equation, you have your stoichiometric factor. Nasa baba yung water. nasa taas yung hydrogen. Okay. Now question, for every mole of water, how many moles of hydrogen will we get? Okay. Ilang kaya? For every mole of water, yes, Joanna?
2, sir.
Okay, 2. Because of the subscript, no? So, nasa subscript kasi na dalawang hydrogen, no? For 1 mole of H2O. Okay, so thank you. Okay. So, ayan. Ganun lang, no? So, typical stoic. Then, at this point in our equation, we now have the mole of hydrogen. Okay. So, ang last na gagawin natin is to convert the mole of hydrogen to the mass of hydrogen. Okay, so paano yon? Just multiply it by its molar mass. So ito yung ating equation. You can see the resemblance of this equation dito sa nasa taas. Because again, ito yung stoic talaga. Ganito talaga yung equation sa stoic. Given, desired, desired. Okay, so ganun. Given mass, given molar mass, coefficients ay yung stoic factors nila, then molar mass ng desired, no? Ayan, mag-plug in na kayo ng answers niya. Sulat ko lang yung solution, ha? By the way, naka-milligram yan. So, convert nyo yan to grams times 10 raised to negative 3. Okay. Ano yung molar mass ng water na gagamitin? Yan, that will be 18,015 Gmol. Okay. So, paki-save na. Kapag volatilization kasi ulit-ulit to eh. So, save nyo na yung molar mass ng carbon being 44009. Ang molar mass ng water will be 18,015. Okay. So, ulit-ulit yan. Times 2 over 1. Yun yung ratio natin dito. 2 over 1. And the molar mass of hydrogen is 1.008 Gmol. Calculate nyo, wag nyo i-mental yan. Mahirap yan. Okay, so the mass of hydrogen in 4 decimal places will be 28301 times 10 negative 4 grams hydrogen. Okay, so that is the mass of our hydrogen. Finally, no, para matapos na yung problem na to, convert natin yung mass of hydrogen to percent hydrogen. Okay, so to do that, zoom in ko ulit. Okay, so that will be percent hydrogen equal to mass ng hydrogen divided by mass ng sample times 100%. Ganon parate, ha. Di-divide mo siya sa mass ng sample mo or volume ng sample, just like the previous question na sinagutan ko. Ano yung mass ng hydrogen? Na-delete ko dito. 28301. 2.8301 times 10 raised to negative 4 grams divided by the sample mass. Okay, so ito na yon. Ayan, ito na yon. So, kopyahin na lang natin. 5.714 times 100. Okay, so that will be in 2 decimal places, 4.95% hydrogen. Okay. So that will be our solution for this item. Pwede na kayo mag-screenshot. Okay. Yes, Zylene? Yes pa. If you have questions, you can raise them. Okay, napindot lang siguro. Okay, so again, pag volatilization method, what you're going to do lang is to convert the mass of your water to to mass of hydrogen. Ay, hindi kita narinig, Zylene. Nakamute ka ata. Type mo na lang yung question mo. So again, habang tinatype niya yung question, yung mass ng water, i-convert mo to mass ng hydrogen. Okay? Para makuha yung percent hydrogen. Yung mass ng CO2, i-convert mo to mass ng carbon para ma-convert mo into percent carbon. Okay? So, paano mo gagawin yun? Stoic lang. No? So, ito yung format. Itong format na to, ulit-ulit lang yan. So, better kung i-save nyo na. Okay. Ito yung trick with the with combustion analysis. Ang question ni Zylene ay ask ko lang po kung bakit hindi po kasama yung mass ng oxygen doon po sa mass ng sample. Okay, kasi ganito, ang problem with mass ng oxygen when doing combustion analysis is that hindi lang yung sample yung lone source mo ng oxygen. Okay? If you could still remember the combustion equation, ano itsura ng combustion reaction? CXHYOZ, where X, Y, and Z are the subscripts. I-react mo yun with oxygen to produce CO2 and H2O, diba? Yung carbon dito sa iyong sample, lahat yung mako-convert into CO2. Yung hydrogen sa iyong sample, lahat yung mako-convert into water. Pero yung oxygen sa iyong sample, may dadagdag pang oxygen from the air eh. No? So that means we cannot directly solve for the mass of oxygen in our sample. No? Kasi may other source pa ng oxygen. No? Siguro kung wala to, pwede natin makuha yung mass ng oxygen. Pero again, meron kasi neto. No? Meron kasing oxygen na dinadagdag ka sa sample mo no to allow it to combust. So therefore, medyo tricky step pa para makuha yung mass ng oxygen, no? So, I will add, yun nga yung sabi ko kanina, no? Magbibigay ako ng question na ganun. What if hinahanap yung mass ng oxygen, no? So, bibigay ko na lang yung question na yon sa answer key ng ating worksheet, no? So, same concept pa rin naman. Okay. So, basta ganun lang. Yung mass ng oxygen, hindi mo siya directly makukuha, no? Kasi nga, may additional source ka pa ng oxygen. So, yan. Ayan, okay. Basta ganun. Kapag combustion analysis, most of the time, ang makukuha mo lang directly is yung CO2 to carbon, H2O2, hydrogen. To get yung oxygen, may isa pang step dyan. No? Although, madali lang naman yung step na yun. No? Kasi ganito. Remember, yung mass ng sample mo, that is equal to the mass of carbon sa iyong sample, mass ng hydrogen sa iyong sample, and lastly, mass ng oxygen, di ba? So, yung mass neto nakuha mo from CO2. Yung mass neto nakuha mo from H2O. So, if you want to determine the mass of oxygen, use this formula na lang. No? So, mass sample equals mass carbon, mass hydrogen, mass oxygen. So, basically, i-subtract mo lang yung sum neto dito, you will get the mass oxygen. Ayun lang. Yun lang yung step na sinasabi ko sa inyo, additional step. Kasi kailangan pag pinag-add mo yung mass ng elements, that must be equal to the mass of your sample. Hindi pwedeng kulang na. Assuming na oxygen ngayon kasama niyan, no? Pwede kasing ibang atoms yung kasama niyan. Pwedeng nitrogen, no? Although, hindi masyadong common yun. Okay. For the sense of our quiz, no. Most likely ang ibibigay ko lang na question is yung carbon hydrogen, okay? Carbon and hydrogen lang. Pero for oxygen, magbibigay nga ako ng additional questions sa worksheet na lang, okay? Pero ito 'yon. Ang concept lang doon is para malaman mo yung mass ng oxygen, use this formula lang. Yung mass nitong entire sample, that is the sum of the mass of each element. Mass neto, plus mass neto, mass ng sample yung katumbas nun. Okay? So, yan. So, for now, ano lang muna tayo, carbon and hydrogen. Mas mahirap mas mahirap mag-stoic for oxygen. Kasi imagine nyo rin to Okay. So, kung kunwari gusto mo kunin yung oxygen from CO2H2O, edi dalawang beses ka magso-solve, no? Tapos yung makukuha mong mass na yon, pwedeng dalawa pa source nun. Pwedeng oxygen in the air or oxygen sa sample mo. So, instead of doing that, no, masyado kasing complicated kapag ganon, ganito na lang yung shortcut, no? Kung ano yung mass ng sample mo, that is the sum of the masses of the elements there. Okay, so alam mo na yung mass ng carbon, alam mo na yung mass ng hydrogen. So kung ano yung kulang, yun na yung mass ng oxygen. So, ganun yung shortcut doon. So, yan, sa worksheet na lang yun ha. Bibigay ko na lang sa worksheet. So for now, ito lang muna yung gusto natin. Okay, so yan. Sana may screenshot na kayo na ito. Okay. Hopefully yung iba na kasabay pag may question kayo, tanong nyo na ngayon pa. Okay. Kasi next week kailan ko ba i-open yung quiz? Next week ko na lang i-open yung quiz. Siguro kasi we're supposed to have teka lang. Check ko nga yung calendar natin. Tapos na tayo sa chapter 3 Okay. So, ibig sabihin nun, last chapter na tayo after neto. Teka lang ha. Buksan natin yung ating work schedule. By the way, question ko lang. Nag-start na kayo sa equilibrium, chemical equilibrium sa lecture. Para alam ko kung pwede na tayo mag-proceed sa chapter 4. Nag-start na ba kayo doon, equilibrium? Hello guys. Nag-start na kayo sa equilibrium. Ang busy ata kayo mag-solve. Anyway, check natin yung calendar natin ha. Nag-start na kayo. Okay, so ibig sabihin, pwede na tayo mag-chapter 4. Ang midterm nyo kasi ay Feb 15 to Feb 20. Okay, malapit na. So gusto ko kasi yung week before the midterm, magkapagpahinga kayo, no? Pwede naman, no? Makapagpahinga or sagot-sagot na lang ng quiz, no? By the way, yung sa chapter 4, dalawang quiz yung ibibigay ko sa inyo doon, no? Kasi it requires talaga mastery ng topic na yun, no? Kasi ang next topic natin doon will be titration. Kailangan kasi yung equilibrium doon. Okay. So kaya dalawa yung quiz na ibibigay ko sa inyo. Anyway, so andito na tayo sa February 18. Siguro by Monday, I will give you time to answer the quiz na lang dito. Okay, so quiz about gravimetry. So you have plenty of time. Then we will start chapter 4 by next week, Thursday. Around 3 meetings yan. So sakto lang. 3 meetings. Okay. So ito. Then, ayun. Then, for the week before the midterm exam, dito ako magbibigay ng quiz din ulit for chapter 4. And mga additional reviewer, no? Para hopefully ma-ace nyo yung midterm exam. Okay? So, ganun. Ayun lang. Ayan, so sa Monday, di muna tayo mag-meet, no? Para makapagsagot-sagot kayo ng quiz. Okay. So, we are on schedule naman. Actually, ahead of schedule pa nga tayo. Ano yung cleanose ko? Anyway, wala. Nawal. Punta na tayo sa last item. Ito na yung last na sasagutan ko. So, by the way, again, yung item 5, ang similar problem with that will be item 6. No? Yung nasa baba niya lang. Okay, so, kung paano ko sinagutan to, most likely, ganyan din sasagutan yung question na to. And ganun din naman sa quiz, no? Or di nyo sure, no? Tignan nyo na lang yung quiz. Okay. Alam nyo naman, scammer ako pagdating sa ganyan. Okay. Last one. Ito yung mahirap. Okay. So, hinga tayong malalim kasi mahirap tong item na to. Okay. So, and don't worry, madali, kaya naman to. Although medyo mapapaano kayo. At first, mapapaano kayo, ha? Ano nangyari? Pero later on, sana masundan nyo na. Okay. So, ito yung ginagawa namin sa lab mostly, no? So, ginagawa namin sa lab, we have mixture of salts that will give one precipitate, no? So, yung isang precipitate, dalawa yung sources niya, no? Pwedeng isang salt, then yung other salt. Tapos, ang gagawin namin, using stoichiometry, you want to determine ilan yung mass ng isang salt and ilan yung mass ng other salt, no? So, parang magpa-puzzle ka dito. So, ganito yan. Bigyan ko na kayo na ito. Ideally for BS Chem to, pero ano tayo? Wala lang. BS Medtech tayo, para kailangan natin to para mas matrickle yung ating brain, no? For harder questions. Okay? So, let's try to do this, no? So, basahin natin yung problem. A 0.2356 gram sample containing only sodium chloride and barium chloride yielded 0.4637 grams of dried silver chloride. Calculate the percent of each halogen compound in the sample. Diba? Ang igsi lang ng question. Anong sabi dyan? Visualize natin. So, you have your NaCl. Okay. Kunwari, ito yung solution. Ito yung tubig. So, you have your NaCl. Yun yung green. And you have your BaCl2. Yun yung red na. Lang. So, you have your NaCl, you have your BaCl2 in your sample. So, ions yan actually, no? Pero sinolid chunk ko na lang. Then, what's next, no? I precipitated it, no? So, ginawa ko, siguro I added silver nitrate. Okay, silver nitrate yung precipitate dito mostly. So, maglalagay ako ng silver ions sa akin solution so that yung chlorides mape-precipitate ko as silver chloride, no? So, that means yung sodium chloride and yung barium chloride, sila ay magiging silver chloride na lang lahat, no? AgCl2. Okay? Tapos yung mass daw ng silver chloride ko is 0.4637. Okay. From this info, alamin ko daw yung mass ng NaCl and yung mass ng BaCl2 sa original sample ko. Okay? So again, paano uli yung nangyari sa problem? Back from the top tayo. So you have your NaCl. you have your BaCl2. So, ibig sabihin niya may mga chloride ions na tayo dito, di ba? May mga Cl ions na tayo dyan. Then, ang ginawa ko is that I added silver so that all the Cl ions will be converted or will be precipitated to silver chloride. So, lahat yan naging silver chloride na. So, ibig sabihin yan, dalawa yung source ng ating silver chloride, no? Our silver chloride can come from NaCl converted to silver chloride and yung BaCl2 converted to silver chloride, no? So, dalawa yung sources ng ating silver chloride, no? Using stoichiometry, we can solve this problem. Okay? So, yun lang yung yun yung background ng question na to. Okay? So, let's proceed. Whenever na may ganitong problem, may mixture ka ng iyong salts, no, that will lead to one precipitate only, you have to write sets of equation. So, sulat natin equation 1. Para tayo nag-algebra, no? Mag-algebra talaga tayo dito. So, equation 1. We have X mass of NaCl plus Y mass of barium chloride equal to the mass of your sample. Okay? Bakit X and Y? Hindi kasi sinabi kung ano yung grams ng NaCl. Hindi rin sinabi kung ano yung mass ng BaCl2. Okay? So, ang alam ko lang, yung total mass nila will be 0.2356. Okay? So, yun. Ang total mass again would be 0.2356. Yung kasi yung sabi dito sa first part ng sentence. Okay? So again, X and Y, hindi ko kasi alam kung ano yung mass nila, no? Pero overall, ang sum nila will be 0.2356. Okay? So ngayon, ano sumunod na ginawa? Prinecipitate ko na siya. So I will write my equation 2 na pag ganun. So ano yung equation 2 ko? Ang equation 2 ko would be the silver chloride na. Okay. So sabi ko, ano yung sources ng silver chloride ko? Ano yung mga sources niya? Yung silver chloride from NaCl. Okay? So yan. Yung NaCl ko ma-convert to silver chloride, di ba? When I add silver ions. Okay, precipitation reaction yon. And yung silver chloride ko from BaCl2. Okay. Pag pinag-add ko yung silver chlorides na magagawa ko out of these two salts, that will be equal to 0.4637 grams. Okay? So, andito na tayo sa last part ng question. So, again, anong nangyari? Nangyari is that first equation, yun yung first part ng sentence. A 2.356 gram sample containing NaCl and BaCl2. Ito yon. X NaCl, Y BaCl2 equal 0.2356. X and Y kasi di ko alam kung ano yung amounts nila. Hindi ko sure kung ilan eh. Okay, pero pag pinag-add ko yung mass nila, ma-convert sila. Total yon sa 0.2356. Okay. Then what happened, no? What happened next is that I precipitated both of them using silver ions to produce silver chloride. So that means, etong X gram of NaCl that will be converted to AgCl from NaCl. And itong BaCl2, pag nilagyan ko yun ng silver ions, they will be converted into silver chloride as well. So pag pinagad ko yung dalawang silver chloride from the two salts, I will have 0.4637. Ang question is, find X and Y. Hanapin mo kung ano yung mass ng NaCl, ano yung mass ng BaCl2. Is this possible? Yes, no. Although it requires algebra, no. Mag-algebra tayo dito. Okay. So, paano natin sasagutan 'yan? So yung equation 1, hayaan nyo lang muna yan dyan. Focus tayo sa equation 2. Ito, imagine nyo ha. What if alam na natin yung mass ng NaCl? Can we determine the mass of AgCl from this? Pwede. Paano mo i-convert yung mass ng NaCl to AgCl? Stoichiometry lang yan. Okay? So, however, di natin alam yung mass eh. Hindi natin alam yung mass ng NaCl. So, ibig sabihin, pwede tayo gumamit ng unknown variable. Pwede tayong mag-let ng value for that mass of NaCl, which is x. No? Okay, so suppose we have x gram of NaCl. How will you solve for the the mass of AgCl from NaCl? Ganito lang 'yon. Mag-set up tayo ng equation. So itong x gram NaCl convert natin to AgCl. So paano 'yon? So you start with lagyan kong parenthesis na malaki. So you start with x gram. Lagyan ko ng color. You have your x gram of NaCl. Ano gagawin mo sa mass? I-convert mo to moles, di ba? So you divide this by the molar mass of NaCl. After mo ma-convert yung moles ng NaCl, ko-convert mo siya to moles of silver chloride, no? So NaCl sa baba, silver chloride sa taas, no? For every mole of NaCl, ilang AgCl magagawa mo? Okay, so ang technique dyan is tignan nyo lang yung Cl. Kung ano yung subscript ng Cl, that will tell you kung ano yung magiging coefficient natin. So for every mole of NaCl, you will produce 1 mole of AgCl. Okay? Kasi tig-isang Cl lang yung meron dyan. Okay? So pagdating natin dito, we now have the mole of AgCl. We're going to convert this into mass of AgCl. So you multiply it by the molar mass of AgCl. So this expression will give us the AgCl from NaCl. Okay. So ito, pag alam mo yung X, that will give you the mass of AgCl produced by NaCl. Okay. So basically, ginawa ko lang is in-expand ko itong equation na to as this one. So pinakita ko yung conversion from NaCl to AgCl. And that will give me this value here. Okay. How about the other one? Okay. So yung other one is that from barium chloride naman siya. Okay. So gawa ulit tayo ng equation. So you start with barium chloride. Why? Barium chloride. Co-convert mo yan to moles. So you divide it by the molar mass of barium chloride. Once you have the moles of your barium chloride, convert mo siya into silver chloride. No? So BaCl2 sa baba, AgCl sa taas. Kasi yun yung final product mo, AgCl. Suppose you have 1 mole of barium chloride. How many moles of AgCl can be produced? No? Any idea? For every mole of barium chloride, ilang AgCl kaya natin magawa? Tignan nyo yung formula nila. 2. No? Yan. So, tama. So, 2 moles. Bakit? Kasi yung barium chloride, dalawang Cl yung ibibigay niya. And yung dalawang Cl na yon magiging AgCl. No? So, that means if you have a mole of barium chloride, that will give you 2 moles of AgCl. Kasi dalawa yung Cl niya. Okay? So, yan. So, that's, pagdating sa part ng equation na to, dito, we now have the moles of AgCl. Then, finally, convert natin to mass yan by multiplying it by the molar mass of AgCl. Kapag pinag-add natin tong dalawang expression na to, that will give us the mass of our precipitate. No? Okay? So, ano ginawa ko? Basically, ang ginawa ko lang po is itong mass ng AgCl, kinonvert ko, itong mass ng NaCl, kinonvert ko ito AgCl. Ito yung formula doon. Itong mass ng barium chloride, kinonvert ko po to mass of AgCl. Ito yung formula doon. Wag kayong wag kayong mataranta kapag may X and Y, no? So imagine nyo may value din yan, no? So may value, for example, yung X, 0.1 gram, kunwari, no? Tapos yung Y, 0.1 gram uli, no? 'Di ba? Madali lang sana kung wala yung X and Y, no? Pero for now, hindi natin sure yung value niya. So let it be our dummy variables na lang, no? Okay? So ayan. So ano susunod natin gagawin dito? Ito yung question. Ang X and Y walang value, di ba? How about the others? May value ba sila? May number ba silang equivalent? May numerical value ba sila? Ang sagot ay meron. Yung molar mass, pwede mo makuha yan. Given na nga sa problem eh. Yung molar mass, yan, given sila. So what we're going to do next is that yung mga may numbers, kakalikutin natin sila. Okay, from this equation, yung mga numbers, i-multiply natin sila to one another, no? Multiply, divide, no? So on, so forth. Ganun din dito. Tapos yung X and Y, matitira sila. Okay, so matitira sila as our unknowns. Okay, so let me expand that equation. So you have X divided by, the molar mass of NaCl is given as 58.44. Okay, times yung 1:1. Ito yung 1:1 na to. Tapos yung molar mass ng AgCl, ipaplug in ko lang. Okay. So ano po yung ginagawa ko ngayon? Pina-plug in ko yung mga molar mass. Okay. Tapos yung unknown, unknown pa rin sila. Okay. Ganun din gagawin ko dito sa kabila, no? So yung mga molar mass, paki-plug in. Molar mass ng barium class ba yan? Ito, 20823. Yung mga molar mass, ipa-plug in natin. Okay, 14332. And yan lahat ay equal pa rin sa 0.4637. Okay, so yan. So ano gagawin mo sa mga numbers? Edi mo multiply mo sila, no? So let us simplify these two equations here. Now that will be 143.32 divided by 58.44 times x, no? So that will be 2.4524x. 4 decimal places na lang ginawa ko. Daming numbers eh. Plus y. Yung y naman, paki-multiply yung mga numbers natin. 2 times 143.32 divided by 208.23. That will be 1.3766y, and that will be equal to 0.4637. So I will call this equation 2 prime. Okay. So ano ginawa natin dito sa uli ginawa natin, no? From the top tayo para mas makita natin. So from the top, okay, para bago kayo ma-intimidate, no? So yung yung first equation natin, this tells us that x grams of NaCl plus y gram of BaCl2, that will give us our sample. Okay, that will give us our sample mass, which is 0.2356. Then what happened next is that I converted NaCl and barium chloride into silver chloride. So kung ano yung mass ng silver chloride produced by this one, and yung mass ng silver chloride produced by this one, pag pinag-add ko daw yon, that will give me 0.4637. Ano sunod na ginawa ko? Ang sunod na ginawa ko is that I expressed the equation needed to solve for the mass of silver chloride that will be produced by NaCl and barium chloride. So ano ginawa ko? Etong NaCl, kinonvert ko to AgCl. How? Using this stoichiometry here. Ito yung stoichiometry formula to. So nangyari dito sa stoichiometry formula, kinonvert ko yung NaCl to AgCl. Okay? However, since hindi ko alam yung NaCl, x yung nilagay kong variable, unknown eh. Okay? So, punta naman tayo dito sa kabila. I converted my barium chloride into silver chloride using the stoichiometry equation here. Since I don't know the mass of barium chloride, I let it as y. No? So, naglet ako ng variable y. Then, ano ginawa ko? Yung mga numbers ng molar mass, pinagsama-sama ko sila. Ayan. Pinagsama-sama ko sila. So, I get my equation 2 prime. No? So, that means, dito yung galing, pero ito yung numerical equivalent niya. Okay. So, that means the mass of AgCl from NaCl can be expressed by 2.4524 x. No? So, itong value na to, that is the mass of AgCl from NaCl. Kung alam ko lang yung x, no? Kung alam ko lang yung mass ng silver chloride, alam ko yung mass ng kung alam ko yung mass ng NaCl, malalaman ko yung mass ng silver chloride produced by NaCl. Ipa-plug in ko lang yung value ng x dito. Okay? So, for AgCl from barium chloride, so ito yon, that can be described by this term, 1.3766 y, wherein yung y, that is the mass of barium chloride. No? So kung alam ko yung value ng y, imumultiply ko lang yun dito, I will get the mass of AgCl produced from barium chloride. No? Tapos pag pinag-add ko yung dalawang yan, that will be equal to the precipitate mass. Okay. So ngayon, let's look at the two new equations. The two equations here. Yung new equation natin, equation 2 prime, ito yon. At yung equation 1. Kopyahin ko yung equation 1. Buburahin ko na yung NaCl kasi variables na lang nilalagay natin. Ano yung x and y dito? Ang tanong ko, ano yung x and y? Yun yung mass ng NaCl and yung mass ng BaCl2. Diba yun yung hinahanap sa problem? So since we have two sets of equation, no, that has both variables x and y, we can solve for the system of linear equation. Bigla tayo nag-algebra, no? Don't worry, sa next topic natin, quadratic equation naman tayo, no? Ganito talaga yung anakem, maraming math. Kaya yung mga students, sabi, yung most feedback nila is mahirap to, no? Pero madali lang to, guys. Sa una lang siya intimidating. Teka lang, dapat yung aking lampara. Okay? So again, ano ginawa ko? Yung new equation ko, I will relate it to equation 1. So ano yung sabi ko dito sa equation na bago pati yung equation 1? Yung value ng x, that is the mass of my sodium chloride, which is yung hinahanap ko sa problem. Yung value ng y, that is the mass of my barium chloride, which is yung hinahanap din sa problem. So since I have two equations with two unknown variables then na parehas, x and y, I can now solve for the set of linear equation. So pwede na ako mag-solve for the linear equations that we have here. Paano yon? Okay. So ganito lang gagawin natin dito. So mag-elimination tayo. Ginagawa nyo to sa algebra nung senior high. No? I think sa mathematics in the modern world, ginagawa nyo rin naman to. So mag-elimination tayo para isang variable na lang yung matira. No? So I have two equations here. Okay? So ano gusto nyo i-eliminate? Ako gusto ko tanggalin yung y. No? Okay? Para matira yung x natin. Okay? So, hindi, yung x na lang tanggalin natin. Hate natin siya. So, I want to eliminate x, for example, para yung y ma-solve natin. Okay? So, how am I going to do that? No? One way to do that is to subtract two equations. Pag subtractin natin yung dalawang equation na yan, and i-multiply natin yung equations by the coefficient of the x, no? So, ibig sabihin ko doon is that i-multiply ko yung bottom equation by negative 2.4524. on both sides. Okay. So, multiply ko yung dalawang equation by, multiply ko sila by negative 2.524. No? Ano yung purpose? Para ma-eliminate yung x. No? So, let me rewrite this. No? Equation 2 prime. That will be 2.4524x plus 1.3766y. Tapos yung equation 2 ko, equation 1 pala. So, minultiply ko na yun sa negative 2.4524, no? So, that will be negative 2.4524x minus negative 2.4524y equals, multiply natin yan, 0.2356 times negative 2.4524. That will be negative, ito kopyahin natin lahat, no? 0.57778544. Okay? So, anong ginawa ko? So, I want to eliminate x para yung y ma-solve ko. So, for me to eliminate x, kopyahin ko lang yung coefficient na yun. I-multiply ko yun sa bottom equation. Tulad ng ginagawa nyo sa algebra dati. Then, negative sign dapat para pag pinagsama natin sila, this minus this will be 0 na. Okay, so, canceled na yung x. Ang matitira na lang ay yung y. Urong ko to sa gilid kasi kulang na tayo ng space dito. Lang. Gurong tayo dun sa kabila. Okay. So, yan. Nandito na tayo. Okay. So, ano gagawin ko? Pagsasamahin ko na yung two equations. So, I will add them. Pag-add natin. So, what is 2.4524x minus 2.4524? Magiging 0 na yan. No? Ka-cancel out na to. So, pag-add natin to, 1.3766 minus 2.4524. That will be negative 1.0758y. Then lastly, ipag-add natin yung dalawang number, 0.4637 minus 0.57778544. That will be negative, makopyahin lahat ng numbers. That will be negative 0.114085544. Let us solve for y. How? You divide both sides by the coefficient of y. Ito. Alam ko naman, naaalala nyo pa yung algebra nyo, no? So, yan. So, divide both sides by the coefficient of y. So, you will get y. Y is now equal to negative 10758. So, y is now 0.1060. Okay, ano yung y? Di ba ito yung mass ng barium chloride? Di ba? So, nakuha na natin yung mass ng barium chloride. Just using algebra. Okay. So, imagine from this equation, we were able to solve for the mass of barium chloride. No? Alamin mo lang yung value ng y. Yun na yun. Tapos na tayo dyan. Okay. So, nakuha na natin yung mass ng barium chloride. How about the mass of, the mass of sodium chloride? To get the value of x, no, gamitin natin yung original equation 1. Okay, so to get x from equation 1, so ano yung equation 1? X plus y equals 0. Ano yun? 2356. Okay. So, alam na natin yung mass ng barium chloride. Ito na siya, di ba? So, yan na yun. So, ngayon, kung gusto natin malaman yung mass ng sodium chloride, we will need to use the first equation, no? Yung x plus y equals 0.2356. So, for me to solve for x, I will transpose my value of y. So, as I transpose it, magpapalit yan ng sign. So, x will be equal to 0.2356 minus 0.1060. So, the value of x will now be equal to 0.1296 grams of NaCl. Okay, so yan. So with algebra, we were able to solve for the mass of our original NaCl and BaCl2, no? So ito yung original mass ng barium chloride and ng sodium chloride, no? Sa ating uh, sample bago siya i-precipitate. Okay? So ibig sabihin yan, sa isang solution, you have 0.106 grams of barium chloride, 0.1296 grams of sodium chloride. Then, pag nilagyan nyo ng silver, lahat yan magiging precipitate, no? So, ganun. Yun yung ganap dito sa gravimetric problem na to. Okay? So, again, from the top tayo, para ma-recap natin to. So, recap tayo. Recap. So, ano uli nangyari? So, may sample ako that contains two salts of unknown masses. Ito yun, equation 1. NaCl plus BaCl2, pag pinag-add ko yung mass na yan, equal yun sa sample mass ko. Then, what happened is that yung NaCl ma-convert to AgCl, yung BaCl2 ma-convert to AgCl2, and yung mass nila, once they were converted to AgCl, that will be equal to 0.4637. So in order for me to solve for the value of x, what I did is that I expressed this term in terms of the mass of NaCl. So paano yun? Pinakita ko lang yung yung derivation nito. How will you get the AgCl from NaCl? Using stoichiometry lang. Ito po yung equation na yun. You convert this into moles of sodium chloride, then yung moles ng sodium chloride, convert mo to moles of AgCl. Then, yung moles of AgCl, convert mo to mass. No? So, you now have the mass of AgCl from NaCl. Ganon din dito. So, I converted my barium chloride into mass of AgCl from barium chloride using this stoichiometry formula here. This is the mass of barium chloride. Dinivide ko sa molar mass. So, I will get the moles of barium chloride. I converted the moles of barium chloride to moles of silver chloride. However, ang coefficient ng silver chloride ay 2 because of dalawa yung chloride ions sa barium eh. Given yung formula niya ay Cl2. Okay? So yan, then yung moles ng silver chloride ko dito, kinonvert ko to molar mass ng silver chloride. Minultiply ko sa molar mass ng silver chloride, so I will get the mass of silver chloride from barium chloride. So pag pinag-add ko tong dalawang to, equal yon dito. Okay. Then what's next? You plug in all the molar masses. So ito yung mga molar mass, plinag in ko siya sa equation, then minultiply ko yon sa x and y. So I was able to get this equation here. So ito na yung equation 2 prime, no? 2 prime kasi ito na yung new form ng second equation. Okay, so this is my 2 prime, new form of the second equation. Then ano ginawa ko? Since meron tayong equation for x and y, itong equation 2 prime, pati yung original equation 1 natin, we can combine them, no? Pinagsama natin sila so that we will be able to solve for the unknown variables x and y. Okay, so yan. So we did the system of linear equation. So system of linear equation, yun ay fancy term lang to solve for x and y, no? So, yan. So, kinancel ko muna yung x. So, ginawa ko yung coefficient ng x, minultiply ko sa first equation. Negative sign lang so that pag pinag-add ko yung dalawa, magka-cancel out sila. Tapos ginawa ko rin yun sa iba, pinag-add ko sila. Then I got this equation here. So to solve for dy, you just divide the entire equation by the coefficient of y. So we solved that the value of y is 0.1060 grams of barium chloride. Yun na yung mass ng barium chloride. Then kung gusto ko hanapin yung sodium chloride, I will just use the original equation. NaCl plus BaCl2 equals sample mass. Okay? So ginawa ko, I solve for x. So yan. Transpose lang. Plug in mo to. And then I got 0.1296 grams of NaCl. So, tapos na ba tayo? Hindi pa. Bakit? Ang question kasi dito is yung percent weight ng salt, di ba? So, madali na lang yan. So, to get the percent weight of your salt, you just divide its mass by the sample mass. Okay? So, it will be this divided by this na lang, times 100. Para makuha mo yung percent weight ng salts mo. So, for barium chloride, that will be 1060 divided by 2356 times 100. So, barium chloride is 44.99% of your sample. Okay? So, 44.99% siya ng sample mo. And, obviously, yung silver chloride, that is just 100 minus 44.99. So, ibig sabihin yan ay 55.01% na lang. Okay? Yan yung kanilang percentages. Okay? So, ano yung takeaway natin dito? Mahirap yung problem. I agree, yes. Mahirap to. Kasi nung college ako, dito rin ako nahirapan dati. However, stoichiometry lang siya generally. Okay? So, as long as ganito yung setup ng equation mo, una, ipakita mo yung mass ng samples mo. Ito yung sample mass. Yung second equation mo will be your precipitates. No? Then, ang gagawin mo, you convert this into precipitate, this into precipitate. Okay. Ganito yung nangyayari talaga. No? So, convert this into precipitate, this into precipitate. How? Stoichiometry. So, ito na yung stoichiometry part. Then, what's next? You plug in the molar masses. Yan, plug in ko na yung molar mass. Then, I simplified them. So, I got this equation here. Then, anong gagawin mo? Yung equation na bago mo, gagamitin mo yung sa equation 1. No? Mag-eliminate ka ng variables so that you can now solve for x and y. Okay. So, yan. Solving for x and y, I got my final answer here. No? Medyo ano to medyo tricky talaga tong problem na to. No? Okay. So, ganito yung gusto ko gawin nyo. No? So, after this session, upload ko to sa YouTube mamaya. No? So, ulitin nyo yung video para masabayan nyo. Okay. Kasi yung problem na katulad nito ay itong question number 4. Okay. So, itong question 4 ay similar with question number 2, yung sinagutan natin na may algebra. Okay. So, habang sinasagutan nyo itong question number 4, sinasabayan nyo yun ng panunood ng question 2, itong part na to. Kasi parehas lang sila ng steps, no? Okay. So, yan. So, screenshot nyo na lang. Ayan. Pati ito. Pwede naman sa YouTube nyo yan, screenshot. Okay. So, I'll help you with question 4 para magkaroon kayo ng start, no? Okay, para maumpisahan nyo. Tulungan ko kayo sa question number 4. Okay. So, basahin natin tong question number 4 na magiging assignment nyo. Okay. A mixture of the 8-hydroxyquinoline. Ito yung 8-hydroxyquinoline. This is an organic yan na precipitating agent, no. It complexes with Ag and magnesium, no. And yung weight nun ay 1.0843 grams. Tapos anong nangyari daw yung complexes na yon, yung precipitates, no, ng aluminum and magnesium, inignite daw sa furnace, and then nag-decompose yung mixture natin, giving us aluminum oxide and magnesium oxide. Yung natirang aluminum oxide and yung magnesium oxide, ang weight daw nila ay 0.1344 grams. Okay, so bumaba yung weight. Siyempre, in-ignite mo yan. So, ang question dyan is to find the percent weight of aluminum 8-hydroxyquinoline sa original mixture mo. Okay? So, tulungan ko kayo sa dalawang equations para makapag-start na kayo mamaya. Okay? So, yan. So, equation 1. Yung equation 1, yun yung first na sinasabi parate. Okay? So, ang sabi doon, a mixture of 8-hydroxyquinoline complex of aluminum and magnesium weighed 1.0843 grams. Okay? So, ito yung equation na yun. Ito yung aluminum 8-hydroxyquinoline. Ito yung magnesium 8-hydroxyquinoline. So, ito yung dalawang yan. So, ibig sabihin nun, alam ba natin yung mass nila? Hindi, no? So, we have X grams of aluminum hydroxyquinoline, ALQ3 ang sub-abbreviation niya, plus Y gram of magnesium hydroxyquinoline. Ang total niyan will be 1.0843 grams. Okay. So, ito yung first equation. Okay, so again, yung first equation, yung sum daw ng dalawang mass ng complexes na to ay equal sa 1.0843. So, I let aluminum be my X and magnesium be my Y na magnesium quinoline. Okay. Then, ano yung nangyari? Equation 2 na tayo. Ano sumunod na sinabi sa problem? When ignited in the furnace, no, our mixture decomposed to give us aluminum oxide and magnesium oxide. No? Okay. And yung weight ng dalawang yon is equal to 0.1344 grams. Okay. O saan kaya galing yung aluminum oxide? Di malamang dito, no? So, itong AlQ3, itong aluminum 8-hydroxyquinoline ko, magiging aluminum oxide yan, no? And then, urong ko to. And then, yung aking magnesium quinoline, itong magnesium quinoline ko, magiging magnesium oxide, no? Okay. So, yan. So, I have my two equations. Okay. So, the first equation will be yung masses ng dalawang quinoline complexes is equal to ganitong mass. Sumunod na nangyari, sinunog ko yung dalawa. So, I converted my aluminum quinoline to aluminum oxide and my magnesium quinoline to magnesium oxide. Yung sum daw ng dalawang oxide na to is equal to this one. Ito na yung final weight nila. So, ang tanong dyan, solve for the value of X and Y. Okay. So, actually, weight percent, no? So, hanapin mo yung percent weight ng aluminum quinoline sa sample mass mo. Okay, so, to get you started, ganito gagawin niya. So, sabi ko, you're going to convert this into aluminum oxide. So, stoic lang yan, ha? Okay. So, kung anong ginawa natin kanina, yun din gagawin mo dito. So, convert AlQ3 to aluminum oxide. Okay. So, you have the mass of AlQ3 divided by X pala yan. Okay. X, yan. Masanay na kayo sa algebra, ha? Kasi, andito na tayo sa mismong anachem na talaga. May algebra talaga ditong involved. So, yung AlQ3, convert mo yan to moles, no? Siyempre. So, sir, ano po molar mass nila? Ito, andito na. Yun. 45943. Then, ano susunod mong gagawin? You convert the, di ba, moles na to ng AlQ3. Convert mo yan to aluminum oxide. Okay. Al2O3. Okay. Isipin nyo, ano yung coefficient ng aluminum oxide pati ng AlQ3? Just look at the formula. If you have 1 mole of Al2O3, aluminum oxide, ilang Al-Q3 magagawa mo? Tignan mo lang yung aluminum, no? So, dito may dalawang aluminum, dito isa. So, that means, kapag meron kang isa nito, may dalawa ka nun. Okay? So, stoic lang yan, no? So, if you have 2 moles of aluminum quinoline, that will produce 1 mole of aluminum oxide lang, no? And then later on, you will multiply it by the molar mass of aluminum oxide para makuha mo yung mass ng ito. Okay. So, yung sa magnesium oxide, ganun din. So, you have YMgQ2. Convert mo yan to moles of MgQ2. At dito yung molar mass. Ayun. Then, ratio. Ang MgQ2, ilang MgQ2 to produce MgO? Look at the subscript lang ng metal, no? So, 1 yung subscript ng Mg, 1 yung subscript ng Mg sa taas. So, 1:1 lang yung ratio nila. Okay? So, ganun lang ginagawa dito. Tignan mo lang yung subscript ng metals. Dito dalawa, dito isa. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan mo ng dalawa nito para maging equal yung dito. Okay? Then, you multiply this by the molar mass of MgQ2. Okay? And then, after nyan, i-plug in nyo yung mga molar mass. Then, you will have the equation 2 prime. Tapos, pag nakuha nyo ng equation 2 prime, gamit kayo ng equation 1. Then, eliminate, no? Eliminate mo yung variables, solve for x and y, no? Then, pag nakuha nyo yung x, that will give you the mass of aluminum quinoline. And, yun, you can answer this problem. Okay? So, itong problem na to, hindi nyo to agad talaga masasabayan at first take, no? So, what I want you to do is to repeat the video na lang, no? Kasi ganun talaga ginagawa ko rin dati nung college ako. Sa una, parang sabi ko, ang abstract naman ng idea na to, may algebra, no? Pero kapag inulit-ulit mo to, masasanay ka na, no? Na, ganun pala, no? Ito pala yung flow. Okay? So, ulit-ulit lang naman yung steps dito. Okay? So, yun yung task nyo na lang. So, again, rewatch the video, itong part na to, or kung gusto nyo yung isang buong discussion natin, ulitin nyo na lang, no? Para masabayan nyo pag magsasagot kayo na itong item 4. Okay? Sige po, Andrea Isabella.
Sir, hindi ko po kasi hindi pa mapakali. Paano po nakuha yung equation 2 prime? Dun po sa una?
Yung equation 2 prime. Ang ginawa ko
Opo.
doon is, di ba ito na yung equation ko. Ito na.
Opo.
Ang gagawin mo doon para makuha mo yung equation 2 prime, yung numbers, pag samasamahin mo, this divided by that. Ganon.
58.44 divided by 1/1. Tapos times 143.32 po. Parang ganun po.
I-rewrite ko to para masabayan
Sige po.
natin. Sige. So,
Thank
i-rewrite
you,
ko to
sir.
as whole equation. Okay? So, yung mga nasa numerator, lalagay ko sa taas. X times 1 times 143.32. Tapos yung nasa denominator, iwan ko sila. So, that will be 58.44. Plus, ganun din sa kabila. Lahat ng nasa numerator, pagsasama-samahin ko. Y times 2 times 143.32. Nasa denominator, 208.23 times 1. Hindi ko nasusulat yung 1. 04637. Tapos ano gagawin ko? Yung mga numbers, i-multiply, divide ko sila, no? So, sa numerator, that will be 1 times 143.32 divided by 58.44. So, yun. So, I have my 2.4524x. Yun yung sa equation 2 prime na to. So, basically, yung mga numbers, gagawan mo sila ng operation. I-multiply mo sila, i-divide mo sila. So, you will get this. Then, you multiply it by x. O, sa y din, ganun gawin natin. Yes po, Andrea.
Sir, paano pag yung nasa ilalim po yung 2? Dulad po dun sa number 4. So,
Ah,
yung,
kunwari nasa ilalim yung 2. Eh di ano siya, lalagay mo siya sa denominator. Gaganon mo
sige
lang.
po.
Bigyan ko kayo ng ID. Bigyan ko na kayo ng kickstart para masagutan nyo yan. Teka lang. Sulat ko lang to. 13766y. Okay. Okay, so ganyan natin nakuha yung equation 2 prime. So yung mga numbers, pinagsama-sama na natin, minultiply, divide na siya, depending on the positions, no? So yan, pag nasa numerator, multiply, pag denominator, saka mo sila i-divide. Okay? So ganyan natin nakuha yung equation 2 prime for number 2. So bigyan ko na kayong kickstart dito sa number 4 natin. Para algebra na lang yung gagawin nyo. Then, ulitin nyo na lang uli yung steps. No? So, ito, dito tayo sa left side, no? ALQ3. So, you have x times 1. Yung mga nasa numerator, kopyahin natin, ha? Itong molar mass, nasa numerator yan. Okay. Molar mass ng aluminum oxide. 10196, sabi doon. Okay. Then, ano yung mga nasa denominator? Ayusin ko lang itong sulat ko. Ano yung nasa denominator? Ito yung mga nasa baba, no? So, ano yung nasa baba? Ito, ALQ3. Saan yun? 459.43. Nasa picture yung molar mass. No? Ito, ALQ3, 459.43. Times, ito may 2 sa baba. May coefficient na 2. So, times 2. Plus, yung dito naman sa kabilang term. You have Y times 1 times molar mass ng MgO2. MgO2 yan. Ulitin natin para mas malaki yung space. MgO pala. Magnesium oxide yan. Sorry. So, magnesium oxide yon. Ano yung molar mass ng magnesium oxide? Tignan natin. 4304. Okay? So, ito yung mga nasa numerator. This, that. Tatlong numbers nandun. Yung unknown, yung coefficient, then yung molar mass. Sa denominator, dalawa usually, no? Molar mass ng MgQ2, 312. 61 times yung number dito, which is 1. So, that will be equal to 0.1344. Okay? Then, ano susunod? Akit ko lang to onte. Okay? So, ano susunod? Yung mga numbers, pag sama-samahin, 1 times this divided by the product of this number. Okay? So, ikakalculate nyo na lang yan. Sa numerator, 1 times 10196. Sa denominator, you have 459.43 times 2. Equal sign. So, that will be 0.096. No? So, kapag ni-round off ko to, 1110 yan. X. So, ito na yan. So, ito, i-multiply mo lahat ng numbers that will give you this term. How about this one? Ganun din. 4304 times 1 times y divided by 312.61 times 1. So that will give you 0.1289y. This will be our equation 2 prime. Okay. Ayan. Ano sundan na ba? Or okay na tayo? Basta kapag kukunin nyo yung equation 2 prime, yung mga molar mass, pag sama-samahin nyo lang sila, i-multiply nyo sila, i-divide nyo sila. Okay? Ito, i-multiply mo yan, multiply, then saka mo pag-divide din yung numbers. You will get this. Ito, multiply mo to, multiply, then saka mo sila i-divide, you will get this. Na, yun yung equation 2 prime. Okay? Sige, the question from GL. Sir, paano nga po uli nakuha yung percent sa number 2? So yung sa percent sa number 2, 'di ba, nakuha mo na yung value ng X and yung value ng Y, no? So yun yung mass ng sodium chloride, no? I-divide mo yun sa mass ng sample mo. Ang sabi sa problem natin, ang mass ng sample is 0.2356, no? So this divided by this is equal to 55%, no? So ganun lang. O kunwari, hanapin mo naman yung percent ng barium chloride. That will be mass of barium chloride divided by the sample mass, itong 0.2356. This divided by this times 100 is 44.99%. Okay? So, ganun yung pagkuha ng percent mass. Ganun din yung gagawin nyo sa question number 4. No? So, once makuha mo na yung mass ng aluminum Q3, no? Aluminum Q3. Pag nakuha mo na yung mass ng aluminum Q3, saka mo siya i-divide sa sample mass mo. Okay? So, ayan. So, medyo ano talaga siya, no? Medyo overwhelming, no? Kasi biglang may algebra, no? Parang out of nowhere, di nyo inaasahan magkaka-algebra session tayo today. Pero that's normal, Anakim to eh. Isang mag-algebra talaga tayo dito. Okay. So that will give you a hint, no, kung ano yung magiging future topics natin sa Anakim. It will mostly involve algebra, no, talaga. So yan. So again, no. So ako alam ko naman, no. At first watch nyo, sabihin nyo, ano to, anong nangyayari, no. Pero pag inulit-ulit nyo yung pag inulit-ulit nyo yung solution natin dito, masasabayan nyo na siya, no? So, gusto ko gawin nyo, so, di ba, nagbigay na ako ng pattern. Sagutan nyo muna yung pattern na to. Itong nasa number 4. Sagutan nyo muna yan. Solve for X and Y. Then, once na masolve mo na siya, you start again from the start. Huwag nyo titignan itong ginawa ko. Kuha kayo ng another blank paper, then try to solve this problem without this cheat sheet natin, no? So pag nasagutan niyo siya uli ng same sa nakuha niyo, then good to go na kayo, no? It requires repetition. Kasi nung ako na inaaral ko to dati, yung problem na binigay sa amin ng prof ko, yun din yung inulit-ulit ko, no? Until sabi ko, okay, mahirap nga siya, no? Pero kaya naman. So, kasi ulit-ulit lang yung steps. So, yan. So, that will be your task na lang, no? So, anyway, any questions from the class or gutom na kayo? Ako, nagutom na rin ako eh. Okay, so it seems na wala na. So, anyway, so with that, no, hopefully maging prepared kayo for the quiz for the gravimetry, no. So sa una madali lang, 'di ba? Yung mga unang questions na binigay ko, easy lang, no. Pero for example, may ganito ng problem, it requires logic talaga, no. So kailangan makita niyo yung flow. Okay? That's why nilalagyan ko ng arrow yan. Ibig sabihin nun, i-convert ko to this. Ito, i-convert ko to this. Then, isusulat ko yung equation na yon. Then the rest is algebra na lang. No? So pag sama-samahin mo yung numbers, then ito, i-compare mo yung sa equation 1 to solve for the values of x and y. No? Okay? So yan. So masanay na kayo sa algebra ha. Ngayon pa lang sinasabi ko na. Kasi ang susunod natin na topic will be acid-base equilibrium and solubility equilibria. No? So it requires algebra, quadratic equation, minsan trinomials, no? So, be ready na sa ganun lang. So, yan. Hopefully, ito ay good start para alalahanin nyo na yung math steps niyo. Okay? So, with that, no? So, thank you for attending our session today. Sa mga hindi naka-attend ng session, takutin nyo na sila, no? Na mahirap yung ating session ngayon. Okay. So with that, thank you for your attendance. No? So again, the answers will be uploaded this Saturday together with some additional problems. Maglalagay pa ako ng additional question para mas ma-review talaga kayo. Again, there will be no classes on Monday so that you can answer the quiz. No? So, para makapagsagot kayo ng quiz. By the way, I forgot. Thursday pala is holiday. I forgot na. Thursday is holiday. That's EDSA anniversary. 25. So, walang pasok tayo sa Thursday uli. So, technically, wala tayong pasok the entire week next week. So, aralin nyo na lang maigi ha. So, yan. Pero, ang quiz 3, mag-open siya sa Monday. And that will be good for 3 days na. So, yan. So, good luck. Stay safe and ingat na. Bye-bye. Kain na po tayo ng lunch. Stop ko lang yung recording. Okay, so ito nasa YouTube to. Pakiaral na lang ulit. Bye-bye and